Welcome to On Point by Target River, the podcast where strategy meets execution with a little fun. I'm your host, Brian, and each episode will break down what actually works in marketing, sales, and growth so you can stay sharp, focused, and always on point. Let's dive in. Do you love a good cut of meat? For me, I love steak. I love chicken. I love all sorts of meats and sorts of cuts. Some of my favorite are some of the juiciest, though, like a great porterhouse or New York steak. But oftentimes when you get those cuts, there's a bit of fat on it, right? And so when you see a premium cut of meats and higher quality at times, sometimes they'll trim that fat. And it got me thinking the other night when I was having a steak about that concept of trimming and trimming things in our lives that maybe we need to reduce the excess or cut out things that are unnecessary, especially right now. And for many people that might be hearing this, things are coming back to life in their communities and their neighborhoods in terms of things growing again. We're coming out of spring, so a lot of trees and plants and bushes are coming back to life maybe after some winter hibernation. And we have to look at that sometimes because it doesn't necessarily come back the exact same way it was last summer. For instance, in my yard, I've got a couple of trees in the front yard that we need to trim because we've got some branches going directions that we don't really want them to go. And if we don't correct their direction now, if we waited 2 or 3 or 4 years, those branches are going to be much thicker and going in that opposite or wrong direction much more rapidly and more abundantly than if we correct or trim that right now. To think about this in a business sense, where do we have opportunities in our businesses to trim things? Could be in expenses. So I know for many organizations, as they grow, they look at different tools they need to add, different resources, different vendors, different partnerships and stuff. And before you know it, you have a lot of little expenses that start to add up. And if we don't take the opportunity or chance to evaluate those and trim those, we can have a lot of excess or fat within our own expenses. That can also happen with staff at times. Sometimes we look and we say, oh, well, we don't have somebody that specifically does this, so let's hire for that role or hire for another role. And we can fall victim to doing that at times, especially if we get an opportunity where maybe we've been doing things ourselves as a sole entrepreneur or with a small team for so long. And then when we get to that level up and we have more revenue coming in, sometimes we can excessively add maybe prematurely or too many roles. So I think it's an important time to evaluate and look where we might want to trim, where it's truly necessary and won't hinder or impede things, or look at valuable partnerships. One other area, of course, that I think about often being a marketing agency is where we can trim the waste when it comes to our marketing efforts. Now, if we're all being honest with ourselves, which I think this is a safe place in the podcast to be so, we probably have all been a part of or seen or observed or maybe even executed marketing or advertising campaigns that had some excess in it, right? Some fat that we could maybe have trimmed. So what does that actually look like when you do that trimming to ensure that you don't have excess and you have a high quality cut of marketing, so to speak, like we might have with a great cut of filet mignon? Well, it starts with exactly what the word says, trimming it. So what things can you remove or do? First, I would think about, and most importantly, trimming the excess people that you might unintentionally reach that you don't need to. Okay, so think about the audiences that you would love to give your message to. And if you could package it up with a pretty package with wrapping paper and a bow and hand deliver it to each of your customers, wouldn't you think about it a little more carefully on who you should deliver that to and who you shouldn't deliver it to? Because you're putting so much time into wrapping that package up and hand delivering it to them. It would be a lot of expense and a lot of labor. Well, you can still take that same approach of really consciously thinking about exactly who you want to deliver your package, or in this case, your marketing or advertising message to. So treat it with that same sensitivity and care that you would if you were spending the extra time to actually truly package something up and hand deliver it to them. So as you think about if your audiences are individuals, maybe consumers, and you're inviting them to hire you for your service that you provide, maybe you're in HVAC or plumbing or construction or pest control or some other industry that has a service you're offering, is every homeowner or every individual that lives in a property your candidate? Most likely not. So think about truly out of all the homes that are in the area that you serve geographically, which ones do you want to hand deliver, so to speak? Which ones do you want to speak to directly? Which ones do you not want to speak to? As we start to think about that, we're trimming out those that would probably be less likely to convert into a customer, right? And that's just off the home there. So when you're thinking about the home, think about the key things. Does their household income level matter? Does their gender matter? Does their age matter? In some cases it does, some cases it doesn't. Does their parental status matter? How about their occupations or their job titles or their job functions or responsibilities? How about the things that they're interested in? For instance, you could have a cul-de-sac or a neighborhood with a whole bunch of people, let's just say a whole bunch of couples that are all in their 40s to 50s, and they all have 2 to 4 children. Okay, so they all have a lot of common qualities and characteristics about them. But once we get beyond those basic things, we're going to find that there's a lot of differences based on hobbies, interests, things that they watch, so the content that they consume, the items that they purchase, and so forth. And thankfully, there is so much valuable data out there that if used properly in marketing, you can start to trim the excess. So in my example here, those households that are on that cul-de-sac that maybe don't fit exactly who you want. And in marketing, wouldn't you rather ideally spend the money reaching those that are your ideal customer versus those that probably wouldn't convert? So that's really the concept today. As you think about things in marketing, as you think about things in business, and yeah, for me, because I think about my personal life a lot and the things that I'm doing and not doing, what are those areas you can trim out that would actually help you improve your life at each of those situations? Your marketing campaigns, your overall business, and in your personal life. Thanks for listening to On Point by Target River. If you're ready to grow your organization with real strategy that generates meaningful results, visit targetriver.com and connect with our team today. Stay focused, stay winning, and stay on point. We'll see you next time.